Welcome back, everyone, to Get Your Geek On's Pixar retrospective review. I'm Robert. That's Aaron. We're here to talk today about
The Good Dinosaur.
But is it a good dinosaur?
I mean,
We're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
Let's find out. So this movie actually came out in the same year as Inside Out, and it feels like this one's kind of gotten lost in comparison. So we wanted to revisit it, and we wanted to, see what we thought. So I had seen it once before. Mm-hmm.
I've never seen this one either.
Okay.
So this is the second one I have never seen that we watched, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So dive into it. Tell me initial thoughts.
Oh, I'm sorry. We just said it off camera. The environment, very photorealistic.
Yeah.
I mean, I would thought, like, oh my god, this is beautiful.
They pushed the boundaries.
Yeah. And then you get the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And you get the humans. You get everything else, it's like, why didn't we stick with this photorealistic kind of look? Why did we have to go cartoonish all of a sudden? Or why didn't we just make it all one style? I overall, on this whole movie, I was not impressed except with the environment. Like, they could have shot the whole movie just talking about the environment, have Morgan Freeman just talk, and I'd be like, I love this movie.
Yeah, I would say the early parts of the movie I was kind of enjoying. Like where you get introduced to the mom and the dad.
Yeah.
And they're kind of farmers, and then here, it's babies being born, and of course, that kind of joke with the big egg, and it's the little dinosaur.
Yeah.
And you kind of get right off the bat that Arlo, our main character, is scared. He's scared of everything. And so I kind of, that progression of how his parents try and help him, and the dad kind of, he'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And, he keeps not figuring it out, and it's kind of like, that he's trying to push him, and he says to work through your fear. But overall, I'm with you. Like, this movie, it didn't really deliver. Mm-hmm. It definitely tries to hit some emotional beats, but it didn't really hit that for me.
Same.
The one thing I will say is that, I have a 4-year-old daughter, and I would not show her this movie. This is scary for, it's about him working through his fear, and there are a lot of very fearful situations. I mean, you've got, things with the storm in the river, and, of course, spoiler alert, this whole review is spoiler. His dad dies, gets washed away, and they don't really sugarcoat that. I mean, it's like they show pretty much everything. Yeah,
he gets hit and he's washed away.
And then, you cuts right to the grave, and they talk about the fact that he's gone. And then, there's those different scary situations he gets into, whether it's with, like, the snake that has little legs. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I was like,
which was kind of an interesting design choice.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got, like, the other dinosaurs that, try to eat Spot. So you've got, like, the pterodactyl ones. Yeah. You've got the raptor ones. There's a lot of scary situations in this movie. And, so I think they did a good job of portraying that, but I think maybe they went a little too far, because I think this is clearly a kid's movie. This is not for adults.
No.
The themes are really basic. There's not a whole lot of, it's a very generic kind of coming of age story mixed with a boy and his dog story. It's very basic.
It is.
And so all of that says this is a kid's movie, but then it's got situations that are too scary for a younger kid, in my opinion.
I would agree with that, because like, watching this one, it was a very generic film. Something that I would never expect Pixar to put out. Like, they played it completely safe on this one. We're going to follow the cookie cutter layout of an animated film mixed with some fear. And like you said, I kind of maybe pushed it a little too hard on that part. But I felt a lot of this was stuff that we've seen in the last 30 years. Yeah. The whole, like, the river scene, I felt like that was just the Mufasa scene again from Lion King. Yeah. I'm like, I feel this is Mufasa dying again.
Sure. And even with the guilt complex, like, he feels like part of this was his fault.
And that's the Simba part of it.
Absolutely.
And it's like, and that's why the little kid almost reminded me of Timon and Pumbaa, because he was always the free, like, go-lucky one until you get that one family scene where he's like, well, I did have a family. Where, like, Timon and Pumbaa were like, oh, Hakuna Matata, live free, whatever.
Right.
And that was the same feel I got from this kid, except he was more protected, more of a dog, like you said. But it's just like, this is a generic film. Like, I feel like we're following what have we done for the last 30 years that's worked? Okay, let's just put all that in this film and see if it works. Oh yeah, make it look photorealistic with the environment because that was beautiful. Like those opening shots, like you said, where you see in the water like flow. I'm like, is that real? Like I'm looking at it, like, what the heck is that?
And throughout the movie, I mean, you get various different shots of like reflections on water, the mountains, the clouds, everything. It looks incredible, and I wish the story matched what it looks like.
100% agree.
Because the story is just it's very basic. There really aren't even a whole lot of laughs in this.
No, not
like
really.
There's a few funny parts, but most of it is not very humorous.
No.
You get like a weird scene where like they're getting high.
Oh yeah, they're eating like or drunk or high. Yeah, because at first I thought they're gonna be drunk, but they made it more high.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, it's fermented. Okay, they're gonna be. What are they doing?
Yeah.
Like,
it was weird.
Yeah. I think it was a triceratops basically that had all those creatures to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
Those jokes were just didn't hit.
No.
The only one of them, I think. What did he say? The one about like he keeps my hopes.
Oh yeah.
That was the only one that
Dream
actually,
Crusher or whatever, and it was like he makes sure that I have realistic goals or something like that.
That was the only part of that whole scene that hit me. I was like, oh, ha! And I was back to, and this is Deborah.
Yeah.
And then he just goes on, and I'm like, yeah, that's typical jokes after that.
Right. And I will say, even, the voice acting in this, there was nothing that really stood out. Of course, immediately it was like, oh, that's Sam Elliott. Like, very recognizable voice, the dad T-Rex. Where it's like, I know that voice. But even that, it wasn't like, wow, you made a really bold choice. It was like, yeah, that seems like another really safe choice. Especially, you picked Sam Elliott for the dad T-Rex.
Who's like a ranger, essentially.
A cattle...
cattle driver.
Yeah, like a rancher,
Which is what Sam Elliott was casted back in the 60s, 70s.
Yeah. So, again, it seems very trite. And just, there weren't a whole lot of chances taken for a movie about pushing past your fear. This seems like they made a movie that they were scared to do anything special with.
Exactly. It fell flat. I mean, I don't know. And I liked how, one thing I do think that every child sees is the naive side. How he was asking for help from everybody. The pterodactyl, oh yeah, we'll help you. And they were really murderers to themselves.
Right.
Or scavengers, I
mean,
say.
when they like freed the critter and then ate it, that's another thing where I'm like, man, I would not show that to my 4-year-old.
Yeah, like
that was
weird.
Freaky. Like, it's just like, oh, look, they're being all friendly, and then boom, just immediately, and like, there's a bit of the tail sticking out.
Yeah, it wasn't like a swallow whole.
And
it was
like,
well, it's done.
Okay, like, this is going a little far for a kid's movie.
It is. And then I did like the fact that the T-Rex being the big scary one, but they were the nicest ones there.
Yeah.
Because, like, they even show that he's scared, terrified of the T-Rex.
Which, again, is another kind of very basic, like, what you expect to be scary isn't always scary.
Yeah.
And of course you have that, the father T-Rex, when he tells his story about, you are scared, but you have to push through it, and you find out what you're made of, which is what his dad was also telling him, kind of push through your fear.
Yeah.
But he was, mistaken. And as a child, this is the one part that I think would resonate with a kid is you think, I have to not be scared. But that's really not what it is.
Yeah.
We do experience fear. Everyone experiences fear. I mean, it's the same thing we talked about with Inside Out.
Yeah.
Fear can be a good thing as long as you respond appropriately to it.
Exactly.
Right? As long as it doesn't paralyze you or hold you back from accomplishing what you want to accomplish or something like that. Fear can be a good thing. And so you should be scared of certain things. There are things to be afraid of. But how you then respond to then react to that.
Exactly.
And so this movie, I like that theme, but it didn't push it even as hard as something like Inside Out did, which that was not the focus of that movie. Right. But it had that amount in there where it talked about fear, and I thought it did it better than this entire movie about fear.
And I agree with you because again, it's so generic in this one.
Yeah.
Fear in that one at least had a little comic side to him because he was so goofy, over the top almost even. And in this one, it's very generic fear. It's very much like, yeah, he should be scared. Oh, that's a little bug, but if you don't know, it's fear. But if you don't face it, it's just this whole movie is a very generic cookie cutter movie. Even the joke with the dad T-Rex is telling him what to do about going on the little rock, and he's just like, I don't what, and she's like, just go yell. He just wants you to go on the rock and yell. And I'm like, that was a typical, like you said, Sam Elliott saying it. mumble now that I hear it, because I was like, that voice sounded familiar.
Yeah.
And now I know it's Sam Elliott, but that's the whole, that's a, like, that joke didn't even hit. And I was like, I get where you're going, but the jokes would fall short.
Yep.
The family for me too the long necks, they all fell short for me too.
Yeah, especially so every time the mom came on screen, I had to kind of be like, wait, is that the sister or the mom?
Oh yeah,
like,
exactly.
They didn't do a good job of differentiating. They really gave you very, I would say Buck was probably the only one that was a little bit better developed.
Yeah.
Because you see a few scenes with him at least.
Yeah, the sister, you see, like, 2 scenes?
Yeah, I mean, you get her, kind of tricking Buck, but that's more of a Buck scene than...
Yeah, he steals it still.
And so, yeah, I agree. And the making your mark stuff didn't hit for me, especially because they didn't bring it home at the end. The whole point of making the mark, as the dad says, is it's when you do something bigger than yourself. And what did Arlo do that was bigger than himself? Like, that part didn't hit home for me, is because, okay, Dad got his for building, the corn shelter or whatever. Mom got hers for, I guess, being the mom.
Yeah. It was just like, well, because she helped, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Of course. And, you see Buck gets his for clearing the field. And the sister, again, and I don't remember her name, she gets it for plowing the field. And those are all things that help the entire family, right? Arlo worked through his fear and grew up, but what did they didn't show what he did. I guess
he got rid of the kid? I mean, that's all you can, and you have to run with that. Like, that's a stretch still.
I don't know, but yeah, it didn't hit home for me. And the thing that I really didn't like is I would have liked there to be a button scene with maybe the whole kid and his family come back and maybe they're neighbors or something. Like, it felt weird that they were just like parted forever.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'll never see you again. Goodbye.
Yeah.
What bothered me, and I think this is what ruined the whole movie for me, we've already shown before the dad died, Buck and like you said, I can't remember the sister's name, they helped with the fields. They did everything.
Sure.
While Arlo was more about just feed the chickens. And that was all you did. He didn't plow the fields. He didn't do anything to help. Well, Dad dies, and the mom is doing all the hard work, the labor that I'm guessing the dad would have done, throwing the corn on her back.
Sure.
And Arlo's trying to help, and she's like, Arlo, we need to do this. Where the hell is the sister and the brother at that point? Like, you have 3 kids.
Yeah, the story's not about them. So obviously they're doing something.
They're not helping, apparently.
I mean, maybe they were maybe they already cleared their portion, and
I'm just like, she put it all on him, but I'm like, you have 3 kids. All my mind could think is you have 3 kids. Like, obviously, I wouldn't have Arlo help do this part. I'd have Buck do it because Buck's bigger and stronger. Arlo, you're a weak one. Keep going and feed the chickens, and I'd make the sister actually start working. Like, my mind was just like logic at that point. I'm like, stop putting it all on Arlo. You know he sucks. Like, that's what I wanted to say.
Aww.
And then, like, later, same thing. And, like, later, Arlo's back. And then you see, like, the mom running, but, like, the brother and sister, where the hell are they? And they do a faraway shot, and then you finally see them.
They run towards him.
And I'm like, but again, the mom's doing all the work. Where are the other 2 at? Like, they're like, Mom, we don't like you, really. I guess.
I mean, I don't know. Again, there was a lot of weird stuff in this movie, and, again, it's very generic. It didn't stand out, which for Pixar, as you said, is weird. Like, that's not...
I'd expect this from a brand new company that wanted to play it safe, and I probably would have actually liked it a little bit more.
Or even like, this felt a little bit like maybe 2000s Disney. So like 90s Disney had a bunch of like great stuff like Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast Lion King and Hercules and Hunchback of Notre Dame, everything, Mulan basically. And everything like that, and
everything they touched in the 90s.
And Little Mermaid was like 89. It kind of like was all into that, and then once we get into 2010s, we've got like Moana and we've got Frozen and we've got Wreck-It Ralph and other things like that. But that kind of early mid 2000s range, like there's not a ton of great movies in there, and this felt like it would fit in with those movies.
Like when The Bug's Life and all that was coming out. Like
that was Pixar, and that was late 90s.
Oh, some 90s, okay.
But I can't even really name a bunch of like those Disney movies from that era because it's like they're so forgettable, and that's how I feel about this movie. It's just forgettable. Like I had seen it once before, and I remembered like watching it that time and going, And then I watched it again for this, and I went, eh.
Too.
It's like, it was beautiful to look at, but
it really was.
I feel, and for me, that is like, that gets you 2 minutes of grace. Yeah. Like, but I'm a story character kind of guy in my movies. Like, even, just to go way outside, like Blade Runner 2049, which is like, it came out a few years ago and everyone was like, oh my God, it's beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, but the story was terrible. I don't care. So like, there was so many critics that were like, this movie is great. And I was like, it doesn't do anything for me because I need story. I need characters. And this movie...
The looks only go so long.
It was beautiful, but every time... what's interesting is I found myself appreciating how beautiful it was because I was so checked out of the character in the story.
Well, and it's sad that you say that because I think I said it off camera. I'll say it again. Normally I don't fall asleep through a movie. I'll sit through it like no matter how crappy it is, I'll be able to watch it. This one I was, and maybe I was just that tired because I haven't been sleeping well all week. I'll admit that, but I've watched like Doom and like all those other ones in theaters where it's like I saw them even 2-3 times because I would take other people because I was working at the theater at the time.
Yeah.
So it's like I seen this movie and I still didn't fall asleep through those ones even though they were boring as heck. And it's like,
yeah, this movie's not good.
This one is just no. So
it's not good.
Where would you rate it then? First.
I mean, I'm gonna come low on this one. Like this is a 4. This is a 4 out of 10 for me. Like it was so generic and just so far below the standards of Pixar that I feel like I'm dinging it a little bit because it's Pixar. Like maybe if I was just looking at this and not having any Pixar expectations, it would probably be a little bit higher. Yeah. But it's not much. I mean, like I feel like this is just, it's not a great movie. I think it's not even a great kids movie because it's a little bit too scary. And so, you kind of have to be in that 6, 7, maybe 8 years old range. And then if you're old enough, to watch this type of movie, there's a lot better movies that you could watch. And so it's just like, And so, I would give this a 4. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. This is not one that I'll be like, let me show this to my daughter.
Yeah, man, let's go watch this.
No. What about you?
And I'm going to go with you on this one. First of all, the environment looked beautiful. I will give them that. Photorealistic. I really thought I was looking at rivers.
The technology was amazing.
Yeah. I was looking at rivers, leaves, smoke, everything. So I will give them that.
It feels like when they, like Jungle Book and Lion King kind of built off this.
Yes. I could see that. I mean, and that's amazing if that's where they went with it later. But overall, I'm right there with you. I'm at a 4 too because it's below average to me because it is such a typical movie. You could pretty much close your eyes and say, okay, here's this, picture what's going to happen. And I do think you're right. I do think because it's Pixar, our expectations are higher. And I think that's just us. I think everybody that's going to be watching, anyone that's out there, when you hear Pixar, you're going to think certain things.
Yeah.
When you hear, ABC movie thing, whatever, like brand new movie company.
Sure.
Maybe this would be a 5 or 6, maybe. Because it's brand new, they want to play it safe, they don't want to push too far yet.
Sure.
But then you would see, oh, well, that's really cool. But again, for Pixar, this isn't anything I would go right home about. I'd be like, I don't know why you watch it, kiddo. When my kids watched it a couple of times, and I'm like, I don't care. So I'd stick with you on the 4. Yeah. The visual effects saved it. Honestly, if it wasn't for that, I'd probably put it down to like a 2. Like I'd drop it like way low.
So anyways, those are our thoughts. Before we wrap up the video, I feel like I don't really have to ask, but do you want to return to the world of the Good Dinosaur?
Only to see that the dad's living a secondary life and he just really wanted to abandon the family. That's all I want to see now. We're going to go dark and twisted.
Wow.
That's it. Otherwise, no, don't ever make it again.
Cool. Yeah, I don't think they need to return to this world. I don't think there's really anything super interesting here, again, from a story or character standpoint. And so, if you want to tell another prehistoric story, do it, but don't connect it to this.
No, don't even comment on it.
But those are our thoughts. We want to know what you think. Drop your comments down below. Certainly like and subscribe to this video. Maybe you think we're totally wrong. Maybe this is one of your favorite Pixar movies, or maybe you're on the same page with us and you think this one's not very good. Either way, let us know. But for Get Your Geek On, that's Aaron. I'm Robert. Thanks again, and stay geeky, guys.